To understand what happened that night, we first need to know what this flight was and who was on board.
Thank you for waiting, ladies and gentlemen. We've invited first class, now we're inviting executive platinum, emerald, sapphire, and ruby.
Air Transat is a Canadian charter airline, not a major carrier like Air Canada, but a well-known vacation airline, popular with families heading to Europe for the summer. Flight 236 was exactly that kind of trip. Most passengers were Canadian tourists, couples, families, elderly travelers, all heading to Lisbon, Portugal for their holidays. The aircraft was an Airbus A330-243, a wide-body twin-engine jet, powered by two Rolls-Royce Trent 772B engines. Modern, reliable, and purpose-built for long-haul transatlantic routes, the airframe was only 2 years old. The flight departed Toronto Pearson International Airport at 12:52 a.m. Eastern Time. On board, 293 passengers and 13 crew members. 306 people in total. In the cockpit that night were two experienced pilots, Captain Robert Pichet, 48 years old, with over 16,800 hours of total flight time. First Officer Dirk de Jager, 28 years old, less experienced but properly trained and qualified. Weather was clear. The route was standard. There were no warnings, no delays, no red flags at departure. By every measure, this was supposed to be a completely routine overnight flight. The flight was 4 hours in, cruising at 39,000 feet. Most passengers were asleep. The cockpit was quiet. Everything looked normal. Then, at 4:38 a.m. UTC, First Officer de Jager noticed something unusual on the instrument panel. The right engine's oil temperature was climbing, and oil pressure was dropping. Slow, gradual, but wrong. 25 minutes later, a second warning. This time, a fuel imbalance alert. The left tank was showing significantly more fuel than the right. That kind of gap doesn't happen on its own. The crew made a decision. To fix the imbalance, they opened the crossfeed valve, transferring fuel from the left tank toward the right engine. Standard thinking. Logical on paper. But they didn't know the right engine had a fuel line leak. So now, fuel from both tanks was feeding directly into that leak, pouring silently into the night sky over the Atlantic. At 6:13 a.m., the right engine flamed out. Fuel, starvation, gone. 13 minutes later, the left engine followed. 306 people, 34,500 feet, no engines, no thrust. The aircraft was now a glider, silently descending over open ocean. The nearest runway, Legis Air Base in the Azores, was still 75 nautical miles away. So, how did a modern Airbus A330, renowned for its safety and reliability, end up powerless over the Atlantic? The investigation, conducted by both Portuguese and Canadian authorities, uncovered a chain of critical failures. The root cause lay in a maintenance error 2 days before the flight. When the right engine was replaced, an incorrect hydraulic pump was installed. This pump, though seemingly compatible, was not the exact model specified for that engine and position. Critically, it lacked a small washer that prevented chafing between the fuel line and a hydraulic hose. Over time, this constant friction wore a hole in the fuel line, creating a leak. Initially, this leak was small, but it worsened during the flight. When the pilots received the fuel imbalance warning, they assumed a simple imbalance issue, not a catastrophic leak. Following standard procedures for an imbalance, they opened the crossfeed valve. This seemingly logical action inadvertently connected the intact left fuel tank to the leaking right engine's fuel system. Instead of isolating the problem, they effectively doubled the rate at which fuel was being lost from the aircraft, draining both tanks simultaneously. The Airbus A330's fuel warning system at the time, while robust, was not designed to differentiate between a simple imbalance and a major fuel leak. This meant the cockpit crew lacked crucial information to make an informed decision. It was a compounding series of mechanical oversight and human misinterpretation, turning a manageable problem into a life or death emergency. The investigation, led by the Portuguese GPIAA and Canada's TSB, confirmed the catastrophic fuel leak was caused by an incorrect part installation and subsequent chafing. Critically, it highlighted the crew's misdiagnosis of the fuel imbalance as a contributing factor exacerbated by the Airbus A330's limited warning system, which couldn't distinguish a leak from a normal imbalance. Initially, Captain Pichet and First Officer de Jager faced scrutiny, with Pichet even being charged with endangering the safety of an aircraft. However, the overwhelming consensus, particularly after the full report, was one of commendation. Their exceptional piloting skills, composure under extreme pressure, An audacious decision to perform an S-turn descent to manage altitude were credited with saving all 306 lives. Captain Pichet, once under fire, became a national hero, known as the Hero of the Azores, and his glided landing earned a place in the Guinness World Records. Air Transat itself faced a $250,000 fine and overhauled its maintenance operations. This near tragedy underscored aviation's commitment to learning from every incident, making air travel safer for everyone every day.